Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me for 10 Minute Tuesday. This is a special one, episode 30 with my guy Tim. Tim, what's up, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So if you're in the Tableau world or even on YouTube, even, I mean, 3 million, 4 million followers, Mr. Tim in the building.
Far
Yeah. But Tim, we got Tim on 10 Minute Tuesday, so we know how it is. Tim, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Yeah, I'm Tim. I am an analytics consultant at Aimpoint Digital, and outside of work, I have a YouTube channel called Tableau Tim.
Great. So yeah, I know I was joking about the channel and everything, but at a certain point, right, you
Yeah,
you started somehow in data, but then you're Tableau Tim now, but you had to get a starting point.
yeah,
So what really compels you to get into data to begin with?
yeah. I worked in communications, and this was now 12, almost 13 years ago. And back then, social media was just starting out. I just joined Twitter. Can you believe it? And people were kind of keen to understand whether social media metrics were of any use in any way in communications. And, people tried their best to kind of make it work, but really there was just aggregate data, how many likes, how many social shares, and all the sort of marketing analytics capabilities hadn't really built out to where they were. At the same time, I got into a field of sort of study called quantified self, where people would track data about themselves. So I got myself a Fitbit. I started tracking steps as you would. And then I kind of realized there's a theme here. Both of these things have something to do with data. And then I actually stumbled into a connection at the University of York who persuaded me to go and start working at the information lab, and that's how I got into data.
Wow. So it really started with tracking steps and understanding, and now
Yeah,
here we are, full career and everything in it.
yeah.
That's crazy. All right.
I'm not sure about career, still figuring it out, but
Yeah. All right. So again, understanding we just heard about part of your journey, and there's been probably
yeah.
some highs and some lows as well. What do you think has been your least favorite job to date?
Oh, in data specifically,
Nah, your
I
call.
think Michael. Okay, interesting. My least favorite job was enterprise rent a car. Actually, for the same reason around data. One of my jobs was I used to have to print out this spreadsheet and go through it by hand. And what I was looking for were people who hadn't paid their accounts at Enterprise Rent a Car in a while. And you'd basically pick up the phone and call them and get them to pay because there were businesses that we leased cars to. And it was interesting because now that I work in the field that I work in, that to me is like an analytics flow somewhere that just says, here's a report, ping an email. Okay, we've pinged them an email 3 times. They've not replied. Dead easy. But I had to do that by hand. I spent 3 days doing that by hand.
My goodness.
So yeah, I managed to do a pretty good job of it. But yeah, the job was fun. The cars were nice. But yeah, sort of working with data that back then was just so difficult. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, that sounds painful. To be able to go down one by one and look that up. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So thinking about that, right? Thinking about your career in data and kind of again the highs and the lows and everything. What would you consider your biggest failure with quotation marks around failures, and really what did you learn from that experience?
Oh, um, I think my biggest failure was thinking after about 2 years after I'd got a few certifications that I'd made it, right? Like it's there sometimes when you start out, there's this so much this focus on just getting into the field and knowing your stuff, getting the certification, and you get it, you feel accomplished, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, and you kind of think, oh, I'm done, right? And that's when I started to realize, oh no, no, it's just begun. It's just begun. And I kind of learned it the hard way through humble pie, basically, like just people constantly showing me alternative ways of doing things, alternative ways of challenging the status quo. I started to bump into other blogs, things I would call hacks today. I won't go into that now, but bumped into blogs and various things that showed me that there were alternative ways of making things work. And so I kind of really started to realize now I've just started learning here, and I need to. It's a long journey. You'll never stop learning, and I know that now on reflection. But yeah, it's a big mistake after a couple of years to just think, okay, I know what I need to know. No, I needed to learn more.
Yeah, I had the similar type of thought process, right? And I think it was just the first certification that I got, and I was like, oh yeah, I know this like the back of my hand. Like, no,
Yeah.
there's so much more to learn, and I'm not as good as I think I am.
Yeah, exactly. It's like opening the door, but it doesn't mean you're in the room. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think so. Kind of piggybacking off that question, understanding right that is a journey. Like, what are the things that still keep you going to this day, to keep learning and keep progressing and keep striving?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Because the more you go on the journey, the more roads you pass that you maybe want to go down, right? And you've got to recognize that the longer the journey, the more things you've ignored. Like that's actually sort of the hardest thing to recognize. You know, you've just gone LinkedIn today, you'll see a feed of hundreds of things that you think you should maybe pick up, right? And it's it's actually being deliberate and choosing a path and just not getting distracted, and chipping away at something over time. It doesn't mean you have to be a specialist. That's not it at all. You can still sort of dabble and understand these other concepts and still push forward. And then the second thing is, it's very easy, especially in the sort of digital marketing world we live in, to pin your knowledge to a product. um, and I can't remember who says this quote, but there's a quote I read in the context of analytics where it kind of compares analytics products to um, food that goes off quickly, but the concepts within data ages like fine wine. They never go away. And so, you know, when you're learning, pin what you're learning not just to the product, but pin it generally to the field, and then whatever tool you pick up, you're going to be able to pick it up very easily.
That's incredible, and it's something that I had a conversation with one of my mentors when I was just learning like the concept of lake house and Databricks
Yeah,
and large language models, and I was just like, I don't get it, I don't understand it, and he was just like, you're really good at what you do, like understand that really well and kind of
yeah,
pick
yeah,
up on it, but it's just like understand what you're really really good at and master that,
yeah,
and then like you talk about the journey, pick up other things
yeah.
across the way.
Exactly, and it's also there's an element linked to that, which is you don't have to present everything you know. Like, you know, in my field, people know me as Tableau Tim, but like, you know, I'm an analytics consultant. I can't just use one tool. So I present to people the thing that I think I can present well. So Tableau is a product that I think I can communicate well. I've used it for over a decade. There are other tools I use. I don't think I'm at the same level of understanding, and so I haven't yet got to the point where I could present that. And so it's okay to do that as well. You know? It's okay just to be a consumer of other people's sort of let's say excellence or knowledge, and just sit back, and then when you're ready to share something, share it.
That's awesome. That's really great. All right, so kind of piggybacking off of that, understanding that if you present or you learn and you have your own process, but at some point someone had to start out in their career. So what is one piece of advice
Yeah,
you give someone who's just starting out in their career?
yeah. When you get into the space, when you get your first consulting gig, when you get your first job, whether it's whatever it is, consulting, freelance, permanent job, temporary job, contract, whatever it is, you give it this incredible level of importance. But at the end of the day, it you'll realize later down the road when you reflect on it how much too much importance you gave it. Example is I went into a bank once and I had this sort of image of a bank. I was like, wow, this bank. I'm like, word, I go into the reception, marble floors. It's like, oh, this is amazing. We're in the city. I got my suit on. You go in through the door, they show you where you scan in, you've gone through ID checks, everything. You get there, you get to the fifth floor, you get in, you sit down your desk, you open up your laptop, you log in through 100 different things, you do your certifications, and you finally get hold of the data, and it's in Excel, you know, like like you give these things such high levels of importance, but you know, sometimes the problem doesn't match the appearance of the challenge or the appearance of the sort of situation you're going into. So don't let that fear of that importance kind of choke you. Actually, approach everything like like you're doing it for the first time. Ask the silly questions. Be brave. Be bold. Be humble when you get things wrong, and you'll honestly learn a lot faster. Sometimes you can kind of choke and not ask the simplest questions because you've given it this high level of importance. So yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic, and that's happened to me on a like couple of different things. Right, here's this internal
Yeah.
pressure. This is the highest thing I've ever
Yeah.
done, and like I can't fail. Like I can't ask this question. I'm supposed to know it, and
Yeah.
things would have gone so
Yeah.
much more smoother had I just everything was on an even playing field. Asked the questions, and
Yeah.
everything would have been great. So that's
Exactly.
fantastic.
Yeah. It happens all the time, and it will happen to you all the way through your career. Just remember that point there. Like, there's a time and a place, and you just treat it like you're the first time. So yeah.
Yeah. All right, Tim. Tell me about the most influential people in your life and how they made an impact on you.
Oh, obviously family is important because they support you. They enable you to do things. I make videos, but in many ways, I have support sort of behind the scenes to make that content. But if I sort of become more general, maybe go back to just the professional context. It's interesting because I don't think I realized who the most information person was until much long after. So I go back to 2006. I was maybe I've got the year wrong, but anyway, it's going to university. I had 3 months before university. Didn't know what to do with my time. For a couple of complicated reasons, didn't go traveling. Didn't do the typical things you did before uni. Um, so I went into a website called lynda.com and I started watching some courses on Photoshop. That was it. No, that's all I did all summer, watch some courses on Photoshop. Now, little did I know, there's a guy called Geek McClelland or something like that. I can't remember his name. Anyway, you can find them online. Now, lynda.com went on to become LinkedIn Learning, which is now where I'm an instructor. But it's funny because back then I was doing exactly the same thing. In 2006, I was watching a video on how to use Photoshop. That's what YouTube has become. That's what LinkedIn Learning has become. In fact, that's what a lot of the internet has become. And it enabled me to do so many things that actually put me into this path. It put me into marketing and communications, which then led me to data, which then led me to where I am. And it's kind of gone full circle now that I can give the opportunity back through the platform. And so in many ways, I call that an inflection point, not because, that person actually, created an opportunity for me. No, not necessarily. Linda and lynda.com, the website she set up, and the ability to watch a video and see someone do something gave me access to a skill that I would have never had access to because I just didn't know anyone with Photoshop at the time. It wasn't something that I was socially sort of connected with. My parents didn't have those networks to get me into the creative industry. So being able to watch someone do something creative and then follow through and learn it in my own time, massive inflection point. Taught me to self-serve, taught me to learn quickly, and yeah, super valuable. So yeah, in a weird way, Linda's probably the current one, but I don't know who else I'm going to realize sort of had that impact. You only realize later down the road. You never meet someone and go, oh, that person's changed my life. Maybe your wife,
Yeah,
will
yeah,
give you that, but
yeah.
like apart from that, like that's it. Like you don't. It's quite hard. You have to reflect on it for quite some
Yeah.
time to really understand who those people are. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to catch that in real time. Like you met this person yesterday, like, whoa, you really changed my life
Yeah.
with that 2 minute conversation.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, reflect on it as well. You never know. Like reflection journaling. I know it sounds weird, but professional journaling is actually quite useful because it allows you to create these milestones and sort of recognize who these people are professionally and then who these people are from an extracurricular kind of perspective. And actually people grow the most when they bring those two sort of points of reflection together and they mold themselves into something unique, because if everyone's learning the same skill, we're all the same, right?
Yeah,
So really you need to reflect and learn on what's unique to you, what are the resources that you have access to, and who are the people that can help you get the most out of that to make you a USP of your own work, right?
awesome, awesome. That was great, great advice. Great information. So, Tim, where can listeners find you at online?
Yeah, YouTube is pretty simple. I say YouTube just because I think that's the easiest thing to find, but you can find me on all the platforms, Threads, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. Whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
I'm there. Just search Tableau Tim, and that's pretty much it. Yeah,
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, Twitter X, whatever he'll rebrand it to next week, you never know.
yeah,
Uh, what social media platform?
exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Tim, man, for joining me. This was great. Appreciate you as always. And if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to y'all next week on 10 Minute Tuesday. Y'all have a great day.